So in language learning, there is this invisible activation phase. It's actually something you can imagine like your brain needs an incubation phase. It's this phase, usually between 1 and 2 years at the beginning, where you put in the work, even if you're speaking and repeating and memorizing and practicing sentences right from the beginning. It's still that phase where you put in all the effort, but the reward is not coming immediately. You still feel you can't hold a conversation. And now this is so important. This is exactly that phase where most people give up, where most language learners then come up with sentences. And I hear that frequently of people in my courses. They say, I'm just not talented for this, or I never can find the time. I'm just too busy and I think it's not my method, or whatever they come up with. Today's message is no, it's not a lack of talent. It is not the fact that you might be, oh, I can't even pronounce that word. I don't want to say it, but some people even say, oh, I'm so lazy. No, you're not. You are the most motivated and consistent person. All you need to do is know about this incubation phase your brain needs. In today's video, I'm actually going to propose to you. No, I'm not going to propose to you. I'm going to suggest to you, look, this is a very good example. Let's do a little parenthesis, or let's open a little bracket here. So I said something, because I'm a polyglot, proposer en français means to suggest. And so this was a false friend, right? I mean, those of you who have more than one language, please tell me in the comments. I just need this today. Drop me a comment to tell me that this happens to you as well, because these false friends always happen. So I said, let me propose to you. Of course not. Even though I like all the community on there, I love you to listen and to watch this video, I'm not going to propose to you. So what I'm going to suggest to you today, bracket closed, so coming back to the video, is a mental model that please use this whenever you feel like giving up. This was so useful for me. When I read about that mental model first, some 2 years ago, I was like, oh yes, of course. And then that carries you slowly and smoothly throughout that invisible activation phase. Welcome to the channel. This is the channel where I share all the really valuable hacks from social psychology, the gems from social psychology that you can use, the mental models, to become fluent in a far more joyful and in a far more natural way, and to have you speak very soon with unshakable confidence. Now, let's be very clear about that incubation phase or that invisible activation phase. This is simply your brain needs to put some things together before it gets automatic about the new language, if you know what I mean. It's the same like you learned how to ride a bike or to drive. Same about learning how to dance, a certain dance style, or learning how to sing, learning how to play an instrument. You have a delayed period between the input, so learning, and the reward in terms of the performance. Your brain needs to connect these synapses to actually be able to wire you in such a way that whenever you have a next situation with an Italian or Spanish or French native speaker, that you don't freeze, because you will have an automatic response. Of course, if you use the everyday nano method, you are actually studying in such a way already that you know how your brain works and you're training on situations and so on and so forth. But I want to be very clear, this invisible activation phase, this incubation period that your brain needs before automating all the different phrases you need in a certain situation, that is for any method, for any language learner, and it doesn't have to do anything with you. It's not in terms of a sign of you might not be as intelligent or talented. No, it's no indication whatsoever for that. It is just a normal process that your brain needs to put things into place. So I will put, as always, the references for this in the description of this video. So if you want to go further with this, read about this. It's so fascinating because basically your brain is getting wired for that habit or for that activity of speaking in a new language. Isn't that fascinating that our brain is able to do that? And what do you think why children in the first 2 years of their life, why we all need usually between 1.5 and 2 years before we start brabbling away in our native language, in our mother's tongue or father's tongue or whoever taught us the language, the first one that we speak? It is because even at the very outset as a baby, we need to wire the brain for that, to just know, okay, if I get that stimulus, that's the response. And before that is wired, you need to be very compassionate, patient. And here is the mental model that I want to offer you today to carry you through that, because I don't want you to give up in that phase, right? So the first one is, if you have practiced speaking from the beginning, but still have these silent moments that we all perceive, they are not, but we all perceive them naturally as very embarrassing if we can't say anything. It's this, watch my video, if I may suggest this to you, watch my video on the identity loss phenomenon. Whenever we can't be our real true selves, well, we have different personalities anyway, but whenever we can't speak like in our mother tongue, we tend to feel, oh, I can't really say anything. And then we get really disappointed. And we then misinterpret silence for failure. Don't do that. That's the first one. So the first mental model, be aware of this. Be very aware and always keep saying to yourself in a very self-compassionate way, this is normal. It's normal that I'm looking for my words. Of course, 5 minutes later, when I talk to that person, then it comes, yes, of course, and then all the different words come into my brain and I know what I would have said. But this is normal. This is absolutely normal. So that's the first one. Self-awareness, self-compassionate response in terms of it's normal. There's nothing to worry about. Now, then what carries you through this invisible activation phase and that phase at the beginning where you can't really hold a conversation yet, where it feels so ungratifying, so unrewarding because you can't get any performance out of that language learning yet? You need to actually hang on to your routine to carry you through that. The motivation that you had at the beginning is always good, but whenever you feel like giving up, you need to have your study routine, your discipline, your auto routine ready. And that is something that should not be dogmatic. I can't stress this enough. There is, and this is now, so the second principle is use your study routine. And for those of you who haven't yet, please check out on my website. I have a perfect study routine planner. This is like a tool set that you can use to put together your perfect study routine that fits your life. Have a look, check it out. I am convinced this can help you as well. Now, the mental model that really helps you then in those moments where you feel desperate and you are like, okay, it doesn't really work yet. I can't really hold a conversation, so I need to switch the method. The method is not working. This is what I used to do a lot in the past, and I thought, I can't see results yet. I can't really talk in French yet. Okay, so that must be my study method. So I had the tendency to throw everything overboard and do something completely different. This is what I don't want you to do. I want to recommend you the both and thinking. I will drop the reference of that excellent book in the description. Check that out. Both and thinking is a very good mental frame, a framing of things, or like a mental model that helps you think differently than this either or in the two extremes that we are naturally wired as human beings to think always in that dialogue between black and white, two extremes. bad and good. And if we don't pay attention, our mind plays us tricks in even categorizing people we meet for the first time in these extremes. I mean, there's this whole research body on the theory of prejudice that comes from that either or thinking. And what helps me a lot, so the both and thinking basically is the principle to always, when you realize you're trapped, you're trapping yourself basically, or your mind traps you in that either or which is better, what can you recommend me, what is a better method, or is this method not better than, this comparative thinking, you can get out of that in terms of saying, no, both are good methods or both are good ways. I just need to carry on and fit it into my life in such a way that I pick and choose different elements from different methods that are all good. And I mean, you have seen there's so many excellent language learning methods out there. They all have their justification, or how say, their legitimization in their own right. There is no battle of language learning methods. We should not be dogmatic about which is the best ever method. This is not what we need to actually succeed. What we need to succeed is be inspired by a multiplicity, and that also is not well pronounced, but you know what I mean, by a diversity of methods of learning. So, for example, be inspired by the everyday nano method and pick the best elements of that and incorporate that into your daily routine. In that sense, you can create the perfect study routine that fits your life. And once you have done that, once you have a routine that really makes you happy as an individual, and everyone is different, this is exactly the reason why we can't be dogmatic about what is the best way to go about something, because every human being is a universe of him or herself, and it really requires to be very self-honest and very self-compassionate to ask yourself the question, what is good for me? What makes me happy in my daily life to learn a language? Because at the end of the day, it should be fun. It's something that learning should always be fun. If you've seen my previous videos, why should it be fun? Also because the positive effect that learning has on your brain is a self-reinforcing motivational factor, because your brain will always love to go back to things that are fun. So if you practice this both and mechanism, whenever you observe yourself saying, oh no, it's not working, I couldn't really speak to that person last time, so there's no performance there, I probably used the wrong method, let's just switch it around everything, let's just change everything, best thing, I will completely change my language course. Don't do that. Say, okay, what can I take out of this method and what can I combine this with out of my study routine or my own preferred techniques to design what works for me. So last time one of you wrote to me that you do journaling, that every morning now you feel really happy about writing down in Spanish 2 or 3 sentences that you're thinking about at the moment in your native language or in your language that you speak every day. And it brings you joy to journal, to actually write down things that you want to do on this day in Spanish. And this way you have a nice way to start your day with these 5 minutes of writing. Why not? And then be self-compassionate. The next day, do something different. Say, I set aside these 5 minutes after having breakfast to actually just listen 5 minutes to a snippet of a podcast in the target language. Play around with things and actually enjoy the rich, vast variety of things that are on offer, but just pick and choose and put them into small chunks into your day. That's very important. The everyday nano method basically is a principle. It's not a rigid how-to method. It's a principle of dividing, combining things into small chunks that fit your daily life and that make it natural to include the new language in your life. Because the more natural it is and the more kind of fun activity it feels, the more you will do it. And in this way, you will become consistent because every day you want to go back to it. It's like with those things that you are naturally obsessed with in your life, your hobbies, your passions, your actually now I have a blockage in English. Yes, passion, you say that in English because I was like, do you say that in? Yes, you do. And I mean, those of you who are also polyglots, drop me a comment, right? Like I said at the beginning, I want to know if this happens to you as well, where you pronounce a word, you hear yourself in one of your fluent languages, and you're like, do you say that in language? Because sometimes the words get overlapped and they are, I mean, this is my experience, right? And they are false friends. In another language, the same word means something completely different. Also, drop me a comment if you want me some of my in some of my future videos to do a video on my most prominent or most famous false friends because they always make me laugh. It's so much fun. Okay, so drop me a comment anyway, dear language learners, what resonates with you in this both and thinking, and give me some examples of how you're incorporating different elements of different study techniques in your daily routine. I'm excited to learn from you as well. And thanks for watching and thanks for spending this time with me today.